The Quran is a book that holds the secrets of creating the universe. It is the most memorized book on earth. This holy book, where Allah speaks to people, has an amazing story. But do we know this story of the Quran? How did it begin? What steps did it go through? And how was it made into a book and reached us today? From the first verse to the last, we now take a step together into the 23-year divine journey of the Quran. To learn the mystery behind this journey and the story that came to us. Now listen carefully. Before we start, we kindly ask you for one thing. We work very hard to make these videos and share them with you. We only ask you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. If you are ready, let's begin. In the year 610 CE, in the month of Ramadan, on a Monday night, the night of Laylat al-Qadr, it was the night when the Quran would be sent down from the hidden tablet, Lawh al-Mahfuz, to the heavens. And from the heavens, the first verses would meet our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The 18,000 worlds and all the angels were waiting for this day. That night, prophethood would be given to our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. That night, Allah Azza wa Jal would speak to his servants. When Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was around 35 years old, he started going to the cave of Hira on Mount Nur, about 6 kilometers away from Mecca, a place he learned about from his grandfather Abd al-Muttalib. When he turned 38, he began spending half of the year in this cave. It is said, when Allah loves a servant, he makes the world bitter and ugly to him. Our Prophet had distanced himself from the world of his time, searching for something. Even the word Hira means search. In the 18,000 worlds, all the angels formed a corridor, like a red carpet from the sky to the earth. And every shaitan was stoned and driven away. The worlds were purified. After this corridor was prepared, Jibril Amin brought the revelation. That night, many stars fell from the sky. It was such an extraordinary night that even the mushriks noticed it and felt something unusual was happening. The journey of the Quran began in the silence of Mecca's mountains, in the cave of Hira. In that silent cave, suddenly an extraordinary power was felt. The angel Jibril alayhi salam appeared, filling the whole cave with divine light. Jibril alayhi salam, with a strong and shaking voice, said, "Iqra," read. Our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, surprised and frightened, replied, "I do not know how to read." Then Jibril held him tightly, so strongly that he felt the full weight of the command. This scene happened 3 times, and finally the blessed verses came. Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he did not know. Surah Alaq 96, 1-5. Our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, overwhelmed by the revelation, ran out of Hira and started rushing home. On his way home, whichever tree, stone, or animal he passed by, he heard them say, "Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah." His state of shock and faintness grew stronger. When he looked up to the sky, he saw Jibril Amin in his true form. For the first time, the second would be during the Mi'raj miracle. Terrified, he entered his home and cried out, "Zamiluni, Zamiluni! Cover me, cover me!" Our mother Khadija quickly covered him and tried to calm him. When he felt calmer, he told her what had happened. Khadija reminded him of his honesty, kindness, and hospitality, and said, "Allah will never leave you alone, will never shame you." After some time, Jibril alayhi salam came again and recited the first 5 verses of Surah Mudaththir. Ya ayyuhal mudaththir kum fa andir. O you who are wrapped up, stand up and warn. After this verse came, our mother Khadija took the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to her cousin, the greatest scholar of his time, who followed the Hanif religion and knew the Tawrat and Injil, Waraka bin Nawfal. When the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam started telling what had happened, Waraka's face turned red. Then he straightened up and stood. When the Prophet finished speaking, Waraka said with tears in his eyes, Good news to you, O Muhammad. The one who came to you is the Namus al-Akbar. It is the same Jibril Amin who came to Musa and Isa. Then he added, O Muhammad, if I live to see the days when your people and your tribe oppress you, torture you, and exile you, I will stand by you and support you. The Prophet, surprised by this, asked, My friends, my family, my people, will they oppress me? Will they torture me? Waraka replied, Yes. Every prophet is oppressed and tortured by his own people and tribe. You will also face this. At that moment, the Prophet ﷺ began to accept and prepare himself for everything that would happen to him for the sake of this blessed mission. He now knew that the message given to him would not only affect his own life, but guide the destiny of all humanity. The command, "Read in the name of your Lord who created," announced the beginning of a new era. Like a light rising from the darkness, these verses would enlighten hearts with knowledge and faith, reminding people of the greatness of Allah, the meaning of servanthood, and the wisdom of creation. With that one sentence, the bridge between the heavens and the earth was rebuilt. And by choosing a messenger who could not read or write, Allah showed the whole world that the power of the Quran comes not from man, but from his Lord. That first revelation was the beginning of a call. That night was the first step in a journey that would last 23 years, a journey that would prepare the Prophet ﷺ for the hardest trials and gift humanity with an eternal guide. This was the beginning of the last divine message to humanity. The Quran was not revealed all at once, but part by part over 23 years. And there was deep divine wisdom in this, because each verse and each surah was revealed as a direct answer to the needs, questions, and events of the time. Each new verse made it easier to understand and immediately apply in daily life. For the new Muslim community, this method was a great mercy. The verses taught the believers, improved their character, strengthened their faith, and step by step rebuilt the social order. Prayers, fasting, zakah, and hajj were not made obligatory all at once, but slowly, preparing people's hearts and minds. It was not easy to leave the habits of Jahiliyyah, but with the mercy of our Lord, the verses softened hearts and prepared people. Each revelation also gave moral support to the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and strengthened his heart. Especially during the hard years in Mecca, the stories of earlier prophets were told to give him patience and hope. Allah often said to him, "Be patient. The help of Allah is near." The first 3 years of the call were the period of secret invitation. Without drawing the attention of the mushriks, the Prophet secretly invited people to Islam. He started with his closest family and friends, those who never doubted the greatness of the Prophet, his noble character, and the truth of his message, known in Islamic history as the Firsts, or the Pioneers, accepted his call immediately. At the head of these were his wife, our mother Khadija, his servant Zayd bin Haritha, his cousin Ali, and his close friend Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr began working hard to invite others to Islam. After the first 2 revelations, more verses continued to come day by day or at intervals. People began to enter Islam in groups. Finally, the name of Islam spread in Mecca and was spoken about everywhere. These first Muslims had become Muslim in secret. The Prophet would meet with them secretly and guide them. Although the Quran was revealed in parts, the verses showed perfect beauty and harmony between them and the surahs. The revelations from Jibril were written down by scribes and also memorized. They carefully wrote them on boards and parchment. The Holy Quran was accepted as the greatest miracle given to Muhammad. Its rhyme and structure, despite changing themes and content, were unique and could not be imitated. In the early years of Islam, prayer was performed as 2 rakahs in the morning and 2 rakahs in the evening. Even though the call was secret, this news reached the Quraysh. But the Quraysh did not react strongly at first. Instead, they began to pressure those of their own family who chose Islam. The 3-year secret invitation ended when a verse commanded an open call. The Prophet first invited the Banu Hashim. Abu Talib supported him, but Abu Lahab criticized him. The Prophet climbed Safa Hill and warned his people in groups, but the idol worshippers rejected the message of Allah, who has power over everything. The commands given to the Prophet included many new rules that questioned the existing social order. Free and enslaved people should be equal. Women should have more rights, including inheritance. Equality was declared as the highest command, no matter the age, social status, or skin color of a person. This equality even extended to all of Allah's creatures. Even camels should not be overloaded. Women's rights, children's rights, animal rights, slaves' rights. We are talking about the 7th century. These were something extraordinary for the whole world. Of course, people were shocked and could not believe what they heard. At the center of these commands was worshipping the one true Allah and ending idol worship. These rules especially disturbed Mecca's rich merchants because they threatened their business interests. The idols brought them income by attracting pilgrims, and they were not willing to give up slave trade and their traditions. Those who were determined to hold on tightly to their old beliefs stood against Muhammad's growing followers. They started using violence and torturing him and his followers to suppress his mission. Even so, the number of the Prophet's followers kept increasing. Everyone who said, "Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul Allah," joined Islam. This religion, which focused on submitting and surrendering to Allah's will, brought great tension and hostility in Mecca because of daily conflicts and rising pressure. But the believers did not give up. They did not step back from their faith despite torture, threats, or being excluded. Even then, Allah was always with the Prophet and the believers. Through revelation, Allah told the Prophet what to do. In many difficulties the Prophet faced, Allah was with him through wahi, giving hope and strength to the believers and teaching them how to act. The verses were not just for them, but for the whole ummah of Muhammad. They came not only for Muslims, but also for all humanity, and they ruled over all times beyond their own age. This message would begin to turn a divided and often unjust society into a united, moral, and spiritually enlightened ummah. Today, thousands of intellectuals, scholars, artists, and advanced societies cannot fully rehabilitate deviant groups of people. Yet in those days, with very limited means, under pain, torture, and even threats of death, a small group of people, with the help of Allah, managed to morally reform an entire nation and region, even teaching the most ignorant people about cleanliness and every aspect of human life in just 23 years, transforming the whole society completely. This alone was a great miracle, one of the greatest miracles of the Quran and of Allah. The miracle of the Quran's preservation. The preservation of the Quran is one of the most remarkable aspects of its history. It shows both the deep devotion of the first Muslim community and the divine promise of Allah. From the very beginning, the Quran was kept safe both orally and in writing. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave great importance to memorizing the Quran and encouraged his companions to keep the verses in their hearts. This tradition of hifz, memorization, started during his life and continued without interruption through generations. Leading companions like Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali radiallahu anhum were among those who memorized the whole Quran. Besides memorization, the Quran was also written down as it was revealed. The Prophet ﷺ assigned a group of scribes to record the revelations. These scribes wrote the text on the materials available at the time: palm leaves, flat stones, pieces of leather, and bones. Whenever a revelation came, the Prophet ﷺ dictated the verses and also told them where to place each verse in its surah. This careful attention ensured that each verse was recorded correctly and arranged according to divine instruction. The companions also compared their written records with each other and directly with the Prophet ﷺ to confirm their accuracy. This verification process guaranteed that no errors entered the text. Every year in Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ would recite the entire Quran to Jibril alayhi salam, which strengthened its accuracy and consistency. In the last year of his life, he recited it to Jibril alayhi salam twice. This confirmed the Quran's complete and perfect arrangement as we have it today. After the Prophet ﷺ passed away, the need to collect the Quran into one book became clear. During the caliphate of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, many memorizers of the Quran were martyred in the Battle of Yamama, which created a critical moment. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu feared that the Quran might be lost, so he suggested to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu that it should be gathered into a single mushaf, book. At first hesitant, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu finally understood the importance of this work for future generations and agreed. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu gave this great task to Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu, one of the main scribes of the Prophet. Zayd, known for his unique knowledge and care in memorization, took on this duty with great diligence. He collected the written pieces held by different companions and compared them with the memorized versions. Zayd's careful work ensured that every verse was confirmed and verified from multiple sources. The result was a mushaf called a sahifa, which was kept under the protection of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. It was later passed to Umar radiallahu anhu, and after Umar's death, it was entrusted to his daughter Hafsa radiallahu anha. Hafsa radiallahu anha was also one of those who had memorized the entire Quran. This first mushaf became the foundation for later standardization efforts. During the caliphate of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, Islam spread quickly, and new Muslim communities in different regions spoke different dialects and languages. This caused differences in the recitation of the Quran and confusion among the people. Seeing this potential conflict, Uthman radiallahu anhu took a decisive step to protect the unity of the Muslim Ummah. He ordered that standard mushafs be prepared based on the sahifa kept by Hafsa radiallahu anha. Uthman radiallahu anhu formed a committee under the leadership of Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu, who had previously compiled the Quran. Zayd, known for his deep knowledge and care, worked with other trusted companions who were experts in Quran recitation and writing. The task of the committee was to prepare a standard mushaf according to the Quraysh dialect, because the Quran had been revealed in that dialect, and it was important to preserve the original language taught by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The committee carefully checked every word and letter. They consulted the Hufaz, those who had memorized the Quran, to make sure the written text matched the oral tradition exactly. When the standardized mushaf was completed, Uthman radiallahu anhu ordered that copies be made and sent to major Islamic centers like Mecca, Medina, Basra, Kufa, and Sham. He also ordered that all other unofficial copies and fragments be destroyed to prevent confusion and disagreement. This decisive step by Uthman radiallahu anhu not only preserved the authentic Quran, but also ensured its consistency throughout the growing Muslim world. The Uthmani Mushaf remained the final and definitive version of the Quran, and all later copies were written based on it. To this day, the Quran has been preserved without any change. This is proof of Allah's divine promise, "Inna nahnu nazalna ad-dhikr wa inna lahu la hafizun." Indeed, it is we who sent down the reminder, Quran, and indeed, we will protect it. Surah Al-Hijr 15:9. The preservation of the Quran is unique in human history. While other holy books have been changed, added to, or lost over time, the Quran has remained exactly as it was revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The oral tradition of memorization also played a critical role in its preservation. Throughout history, thousands of Muslims dedicated their lives to memorizing the Quran, passing it on through an unbroken chain of recitation from generation to generation. This extraordinary tradition, combined with the written text, has kept the Quran in its original form for over 1400 years. Even today, millions of people have memorized the Quran and earned the title of Hafiz. There is no other book on earth, past or present, that has been memorized to this extent. This is another miracle of the Quran. Neither the Injil nor the Zabur nor the Taurat have ever been memorized and recited this widely. And today, all the Qurans in the world are exactly the same. Every word and every sentence accepted unanimously by all Muslims. From Indonesia to Turkey, from India and Pakistan to the UK and America, wherever you go, the Quran remains the same and will always remain the same. A miracle. Even books written today can have mistakes, but the fact that a book revealed 1400 years ago is preserved perfectly in this miraculous way shows that it is under the protection of Allah. 10 scientific miracles of the Quran. Let's now look at 10 scientific miracles where the Quran mentioned facts 1,400 years ago that humans had not yet discovered. These examples include knowledge so deep that people at that time, with no advanced tools or science, could not have known them. 1. The beginning of the universe. Big Bang. In Surah Anbiya, verse 30, it says, "Do those who disbelieve not see that the heavens and the earth were joined together, then we separated them?" This verse tells us that the universe was once a single whole and then was split apart. Modern science discovered this truth in the early 20th century with the Big Bang theory, which proved the universe began about 13.8 billion years ago from an extremely hot, dense point and started expanding. For a society with no telescopes or knowledge of cosmology, knowing this 1,400 years ago was impossible. People of that time believed the sky was fixed and unchanging, but the Quran pointed far beyond their scientific understanding. The expansion of the universe. In Surah Dhariyat, verse 47, it says, "We built the heaven with power and we are expanding it." The fact that the universe is expanding was discovered by Edwin Hubble in 1929 when he observed distant galaxies moving away from us. This became one of the foundations of modern cosmology. The Quran's words, "We are expanding it," describe something no one in the 7th century could imagine. At that time, people thought of the sky as a dome full of fixed stars. This fact was only confirmed through powerful telescopes. 3. The end of the universe. Big Crunch. In Surah Anbiya, verse 104, it says, "We will roll up the heaven like the rolling up of a scroll of books." As we began the first creation, we will repeat it. This suggests that one day the expansion of the universe will stop and it will collapse back on itself. In modern cosmology, this is called the Big Crunch hypothesis, the idea that gravity will one day overpower expansion and pull all matter back into one point. Scientists still debate how the universe will end, but this remains a serious theory. The Quran describing the universe as dynamic, with a beginning and an end, is striking. The atmosphere as a protective shield. In Surah Anbiya, verse 32, it says, "We made the sky a protected roof." Today we know the Earth's atmosphere acts as a vital shield for life. The ozone layer blocks harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. The atmosphere also causes meteors to burn up before reaching the ground. Electromagnetic belts, Van Allen belts, deflect charged particles from the sun. In the 7th century, people thought the sky was just a dome with stars, but now we know the atmosphere is a life-saving shield. The Quran's words about a protected roof are a scientific miracle revealed long before modern physics and space exploration. 5. Iron came from space. In Surah Hadid, verse 25, it says, "We sent down iron, in which is great strength and benefits for people." Iron is not one of the light elements formed during the early universe. Scientists discovered that iron can only form in the cores of massive stars and is spread through space when these stars explode as supernovae. This means the iron on Earth actually came from space, not from Earth itself. In the 7th century, people thought iron was just a common metal dug from the ground. The Quran's phrase, "we sent down," perfectly matches modern scientific facts. 6. Separation of saltwater and freshwater, 2 seas. In Surah Rahman, verses 55:19-20, it says, "He has released the 2 seas, meeting side by side. Between them is a barrier so that they do not mix." Today, oceanography shows us that in some places, 2 bodies of water flow side by side without mixing. For example, at the Strait of Gibraltar, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Mediterranean Sea. These waters have different salinity and temperatures, and are separated by a thin layer called a halocline, which acts like an invisible curtain due to density differences. At the time when the Quran was revealed, Such a phenomenon was impossible to observe because it is invisible to the eye and only measurable with sensitive instruments. The Quran, calling it a barrier, is knowledge far beyond its time. 7. Humans created from water. In Surah Anbiya, verse 21-30, our Lord says, "We created every living thing from water." Today, biology shows us that every living cell is made mostly of water. On average, the human body is about 60% water, and in some cells, this can be as high as 90%. Transport between cells, nutrition and energy cycles all depend on water. At a time when microscopes didn't exist and the concept of cells was unknown, people only thought of water as something for drinking, irrigation and washing. The Quran, however, pointed out water's fundamental role in life, matching modern cell biology. 8. Stages of embryonic development. The Quran describes the stages of human development in the womb. Then we made him a nutfa, drop, then an alaka, clinging clot, then a mudga, chewed-like lump of flesh. Surah Mu'minun 23:14. Modern embryology confirms that after fertilization, the human embryo first clings to the womb wall, alaka, then forms an unshaped mass resembling a chewed piece of flesh, mudga. These stages, only visible today with advanced microscopes, were described in correct order in the Quran centuries ago. At that time, people only knew that the mother's belly grew bigger. The Quran's detailed and scientifically accurate description is a clear sign of divine revelation. 9. Mountains stabilizing the earth's crust. In Surah Naba 78:6-7 and Surah Nahl 16:15 it says, "We placed firmly set mountains on the earth so that it would not shake with you." Modern geology shows that mountains have deep roots anchoring them into the earth, much like pegs. Mountains formed by tectonic plates help stabilize the earth's crust and absorb some seismic energy. This peg-like structure was only confirmed through seismic studies in the 20th century. Yet the Quran already described mountains as stabilizers in the 7th century. 10. Atmospheric pressure and chest tightness. In Surah An'am 6:1-25, it says, "Whoever Allah wants to guide, He opens his chest to Islam. But whoever He wants to misguide, He makes his chest tight and constricted as if he were climbing up into the sky." Science shows that as altitude increases, atmospheric pressure drops, oxygen levels fall, and breathing becomes harder. At high altitudes, people feel tightness in their chest, dizziness, and shortness of breath. In the 7th century, people only climbed small mountains and had no knowledge of atmospheric physics or pressure differences. Microscopes, telescopes, astrophysics, modern geology, and embryology all developed in the 19th and 20th centuries. But the Quran spoke of these truths over 1,400 years ago. It is not reasonable to believe that someone living 1,400 years ago, who could not read or write, could have discovered such deep knowledge on his own. These 10 miracles are strong evidence supporting the claim that the Quran is not simply a human product, but divine speech, that it mentioned truths unknown to humanity at the time, which science only discovered much later, is one of the strongest signs that it is truly the word of Allah. The eloquence and literary miracle of the Quran. The Quran is truly a miracle in its words and sentence structures. Arabic language experts agree it is neither poetry nor ordinary prose. It has a completely unique style never seen before. Its beauty of language is unmatched, and even the greatest poets of its time were amazed by it. In the time of the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, eloquence, poetry, and the art of speech were highly valued. But the Messenger could not read or write. He was ummi. He also had no interest in poetry or literary arts. This made the miracle even clearer. Imagine someone who cannot read or write suddenly begins to speak in a unique, unmatched style, somewhere between poetry and prose. It was obvious that these were not his own words, but were given to him by Allah. The verses of the Quran were so powerful that even the masters of poetry and speech of his time were shocked and humbled. Some poets did not believe at first, but when they heard a verse of the Quran, they would fall into sujud, showing their awe and respect. In the Quran, The word Allah appears 2,806 times. The word Rabbi appears 846 times. The word Rasul appears 167 times. The word Quran appears 69 times. The word Rahim appears 220 times. On some pages, these words are lined up one under another, like a straight line. On some pages, they appear facing each other in a perfect harmony. On others, they appear back-to-back in symmetry. This miracle was discovered in 1932 by Said Nursi and is called the Tawafuk miracle. For example, on page 35, the word Allah appears one under another, lined up as if you could draw a straight string through them, like pearls. On page 181, the same happens. On page 422, there are other kinds of tawafuk. Here there is a verse saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and remember Allah much. This page has the highest number of Allah mentions in the Quran. This is something no one can explain as coincidence, nor could a human intentionally arrange it. Why? Because the verses were revealed at different times, under different circumstances, sometimes 20 years apart. The verses also have different lengths, yet despite all these differences, the Allah mentions align perfectly. This is another type of the Tawafuk miracle. For example, on one page, a mention of Allah is here, and on the facing page it's in the same spot. When you close the two pages, the words match exactly on top of each other, like on pages 2 and 3, or pages 50 and 51. On pages 82 and 83, you see 4 Allah mentions on the right and 4 on the left, perfectly aligned on the same lines and spots when the pages are closed. Another type of tawafuk is where the words appear back-to-back on the same page, like on pages 33 and 34. The mentions of Allah are back-to-back, on the same line and spot. On pages 460 and 464, the same thing happens, aligned to the millimeter. The 846 times the word Rab appears also show tawafuk, lined up just like Allah. For example, on page 48, all the Rab mentions are lined up perfectly. There are also tawafuk patterns in other names of Allah, like Rahman and others. For example, on page 309 you can see the word Rahman lined up, or on pages 289 and 290 the word Quran, which appears 69 times in total, matches perfectly when the pages are closed. This literary and numerical harmony, impossible to plan or fake, is another proof of the divine nature of the Quran, a miracle in both its words and its structure. Tawafuk in the names of prophets. There are also tawafuk patterns in the names of prophets. For example, on page 19, the name of Ibrahim appears 3 times, all lined up one under the other. On page 235, the name of Yusuf, alayhi salam, is also arranged vertically. On page 327, the names of Dawood, alayhi salam, and Sulaiman, alayhi salam, align perfectly on top of each other. On page 449, the names of Ishaq, Musa, and Harun are again lined up vertically. There are also mana tawafuk, harmony in meaning. For example, if you compare pages 235 and 236, the name of Yusuf, alayhi salam, on one page aligns directly above the word Jamil on the facing page. The word Jamil means beautiful, and as you know, Yusuf, alayhi salam, is famous among prophets for his beauty. On page 245, the name of Yusuf, alayhi salam, appears twice going upwards, still keeping its perfect order. If you continue drawing the line upwards, you see it aligns exactly with the word Aziz. This is meaningful because Yusuf, alayhi salam, was given the title Aziz in Egypt. You also know the story of the Ashab al-Kahf, known as the 7 sleepers, is told in the Quran. On page 294, when this story is narrated, the verse mentions their loyal dog as Wa-Kalbuhum, and their dog, who slept at the entrance of the cave. However, we know from prophetic traditions and Islamic history that the dog's name was Kitmir. The Quran itself does not use the name Kitmir in this story. The only place the word Kitmir appears in the Quran is on page 435, 141 pages later, and there it means the thin skin of a date seed, not the dog's name. But if you mark the word wa kalbuhum with a needle on page 294 and then look at page 435, you see it aligns exactly over the word kitmir. This is another astonishing example of tawafuk. These are just a few examples. There are hundreds more. You can watch our detailed video, The Eloquence Miracle of the Quran, to learn more. The phonetic power of the Quran. The impact of the Quran is not only in its message, but also in its recitation. When recited properly, the Quran leaves a deep impression on the listener, whether or not they understand Arabic. The rhythmic structure and melody of its verses create an indescribable, almost hypnotic effect on the soul. This effect has even caused many non-Muslims who heard it for the first time to break down in tears. Another aspect of the Quran's miracle is its universality. It speaks to all of humanity, crossing cultures, geography, and time. It addresses both the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated. It offers solutions to the problems faced by both individuals and societies. Its universal appeal is a reflection of its divine origin, because no human work could ever achieve such lasting and wide-reaching relevance. The Quran foretelling the future and its fulfillment. The Quran challenges humans and also presents detailed prophecies that came true throughout history. Predictions about the victory of the Romans, the spread of Islam, and the preservation of the Quran happened exactly as stated, proving the truth of the Quran beyond doubt. These prophecies are not vague but very clear, offering strong evidence of its divine origin. The teachings of the Quran also perfectly match human nature. They speak to our desires, fears, and ideals. It offers a balanced approach to life, forbidding extremes and encouraging moderation. This balance can clearly be seen in worship, relationships, and social matters, bringing harmony between spiritual and worldly life. Such a comprehensive system can only come from Allah, who created humans. The inclusiveness of the Quran is also seen in its understanding of law and morality. It promotes justice, mercy, and the well-being of all creatures. It offers a fair legal framework that protects everyone's rights in society. Its emphasis on kindness, forgiveness, and compassion reflects the attributes of Allah and gives people a moral model to succeed in this world and the hereafter. The Quran in our lives today. Reading the Quran is itself a great act of worship, and every letter brings reward. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever reads one letter of the Book of Allah will have a reward for it, and each reward is multiplied 10 times. Teaching the Quran is one of the best ways to bring its blessings into our lives. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The best among you are those who learn the Quran and teach it." Sharing its teachings with others through lessons or even simple conversations multiplies its effect. Every person you guide toward the Quran becomes a continuous charity, sadaqah jariyah, for you. Even after you pass away, the rewards keep flowing in your record. The Quran also enriches our daily worship. It makes our prayers more meaningful, deepening every sujood and ruku. It guides our du'as, teaching us to ask Allah for both worldly and eternal good. Its verses remind us to seek His help, guidance, and forgiveness, strengthening our connection with our Lord even more.